Okay, internet permitting, we're going to start the show tonight. Tonight's show is going to be presented by Off-Grid Jeep Homestead, which is our good friend who's going to explain what's been happening in his world for the last few weeks. He's got a lot of interesting things that I know he's been up to. So please welcome Off-Grid Jeep to the mic, and he can let us know what's been happening.
Well, thank you all. I hope you can hear me okay. As many as you already know what's been going on, but I want to keep everybody informed of the things that don't make it to video. And Herbster was nice enough today to let me step in and keep you up to date. So I thank you, Herb, and look forward to Herb's next show. So just a couple things here. We recently purchased property, and if you don't know, with Off-Grid Jeep Homestead, 0.58 acres, and so just a little over half. It's 200 feet across the front by 147 down the side, rectangle piece. It does have power to the property. We don't have the power on. It does have a well and a pump. The well is 43 feet deep, sand point, and it's got a 30-gallon pressure tank on it, and it's got a 30 by 24 concrete slab with frost footings in it. The ground's very sandy, but it has tons of timber. Jeep Girl and I have been fortunate enough. We spent a couple days down there starting to clear. But this week, Tiny Jeep is going to be going out of town with his grandparents, so that will give us about 4 days to spend down there. And so
4 days without a child.
So we're going to go down and really try to work some of the land. So next week, I imagine we'll have some pretty good videos. I'm hoping that we have time to take some video and share that with you all. This last week, what I did is Jeep Girl and I actually went to a local preppers meeting. It was pretty uneventful. It was the group is actually quite large, but the people that were there was just about 6 of us. But it was we got it explained to us that preppers are very paranoid. They came to the first meeting after joining the group and thought that it was a government conspiracy and they were being recorded, and the meeting was just to find out where they're located so they can come and be raided. So, but we did meet some interesting people there and shared some ideas and some security. The main topic was first aid and security. It's got some interesting things, some things about securing doors, some products that are out there on full casement sash plates. So when you lock the door, it has the entire jamb as the lock plate. And so, and some other types of things. Company out of Wisconsin, they can actually get some more professional medical equipment from. So, you know, we shared some ideas. We did a little tour of the Off-Grid Jeep, and they were quite impressed. And fortunately, I will be in California for the next meeting, so I will not be able to attend. So then this week, we're going to go to the property, but something we did just do here the last couple days, including mostly today, is I found a rack on top of a rack on Craigslist on top of the Jeep, one of the basket style racks. So today I painted it, cleaned it up, made mounting brackets. It's got a temporary bracket for right now in the rear until I get something fabricated for the permanent racking. So I did today also, I mounted one of the 40-watt solar panels inside the rack. It's got the wind cone in the front of it. So the wind cone will block the solar panel and keep it in there complete. And I'll do some videos of that when I got time, maybe when we're there at the homestead. And that's pretty much my week. I do want to go ahead and open up for questions, and I'll be glad to answer anything you got. I'll be up by Mount Shasta, not too far from the Oregon border, up in the mountains. So that's up in that area, Redding, Mount Shasta, all of that. So yeah, that's where I'm actually from. I'm from Northern California, kind of right between Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta. So I grew up there. I lived in California for 20 years. Well, when we were there, they said that the first meeting they had was quite productive. A lot of members turned up, but for whatever reason, instead of wanting to share knowledge and help each other out, they definitely thought it was a government conspiracy, and they were there to record. The guy that's actually running the program now is a Wise Foods. He's a Prepper's Food. He's a distributor for this area. He's also a contractor and home builder and a real estate agent. So he's building his home now as we're going on, and he actually put in a safe room in it. He said when he built it, and that's a good way to do it, is when you're building the home, to build those preparations right into it as you build it. But I'm not sure why the conspiracy. Everybody, he made it sound like they were just paranoid, like they were being recorded just showing up. Okay, Liquorman, go ahead. Well, I know in our area that a lot of people believe that preppers are what they see on TV, paranoid crazies that are anti-government. But the ones I really know are pro-government, just not the way it's being ran, but they believe in government and that they are prepping for when this government fails. They're not anti-government, if you know what I mean. Go ahead, Steve.
I know a little bit about what you're going to be building on your property, but if you can explain to people how you're going to lay out the property in regards to your wet areas and your cabin, and of course nothing's finalised, but your concept of what will be on your land, so people get an understanding of what it will be.
Yeah, sure. Well, the first thing, there's already one shed on there with the well house. and the pump that is in it, and it's about a 6x6. So hopefully here soon or within winter time, I'd like to actually build a small shed, but the shed will actually be what we were going to call the bathroom. It will contain the composting toilet, the shower, sink, that type of thing. And then eventually what we were doing, if any of you know Fixed by Dock or even our off-grid solar cabin, how they have a prefabbed shed cabin. I think we're more leaning towards that type of thing. It would be not, it might be just right on top of the slab because it's already poured, it's already got footings, it's already secure.
And we can build around it, expand a deck around it.
Yeah, and we can build a deck, a carport, or whatever also right around it. So right now that seems the most economical, because that, you know, you're talking about probably $3,000 in concrete there alone, and why not use it to that instead of spending the money to put in concrete piers, because anything that would actually have to be built there would have to have very deep footings because of the sand, so the concrete piers would have to go down very deep for that. So we're thinking, because it's already got a frost footing on the pad, that would actually make the most sense to put the cabin right on the pad itself. It's a little bit closer to the corner than we originally would like. The back corner, furthest corner from where the house and that would be, we'd like to probably keep as, you know, just wild as could be. Don't go back there, don't trim nothing, just keep it in that. But the rest of it, across the face of it, we're going to be trimming, cutting, clearing. I'm going to be cutting some trees here sometime if the chainsaw fairy ever comes, and balsam trees, so we can start some solar panels, some things like that. And right now, because of the way the slope is, the hill is actually to the south, so we got to cut some trees down to actually make clearing for the sun to get to some solar panels. So that's our ideas right now. Go ahead, Lieberman. Draining is phenomenal because we have really sandy soil. Any rain instantly drains away. Garden will actually need to be raised beds with compost and soil, because the ground actually cuts away so quickly that it wouldn't hold the moisture for gardening. So the gardening is going to be raised beds. But the soil, there's no water puddles anywhere except right at the road where they already made, you know, compacted dirt and rock. So drainage will not be a problem. Yeah, Katie, that's what I was thinking. Up behind the behind where the shed is now, cutting some of those trees down and actually building the frame up on top of some of those trees right there, and then mounting the panels up there so they're up high, up on the higher part of the property, and then that they'll be up and get us maximum amount of sun. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking there, Katie. Go ahead, Herbster.
I was just going to go back to an earlier comment about the preppers and stuff like that, and why some of them seem so paranoid. A lot of people were seeing, like, I don't know if it went across the United States, but here in Maryland, there was a glitch in the system for their food stamps, probably about 3 days ago. It was just about crazy here. People I mean, literally, just going crazy. Oh my God, the government done shut down, cut off the food stamps, cutting off this to that to every one of them. I myself I am prepared now. Makes me want to be a prepper. I was never considered ever think of myself as a prepper. Now I am, because, like I said, I already found out for me a place to go bug out. I done found out, made sure I got everything loaded up, my panels, my batteries, all loaded up in trailers, just ready to be hooked to and go. So I was just paranoia really just sets in when you actually start seeing stuff like that. So that's just wanted to comment on that, but just maybe set a couple things straight on that.
Asked about rainwater collection. Yes, I'm a big advocate and a big fan of rainwater collection, and if you're not doing it now, contact me. I'll help you with designs or anything about to make these systems. Just because you have a well, wells fail. Just because you have a well, power fails. You don't have sun, you don't, whatever the case may be, you need to collect this water. Your food, why, especially with my ground, it leaches so quickly that it's not going to store any water in the ground for me. So it's my responsibility as a good caretaker of my land to collect the rainwater and use it on my plants directly, so that way I know my plants are getting watered. So if you're not collecting water, any one of us would be glad to help you with some proven systems. And I know, like out in Australia, that's what they're can't have a house now without some in some areas. So yeah, good question there, KD. And go ahead, Lieberman. Yeah, I'm a big fan of gardening and canning and storing your food. And if you live out in the country like that, I mean, the little town that's there is about 10 miles. You're going to pay 3 times more if you have to go there for anything. So anything that you can grow on your land and not have to travel, and then it's, in order to go to the bigger town, you're talking 40 minutes to an hour depending on which way you go. So anything that you can save, everything that you can grow on your land that you don't have to purchase, is money in the bank. It's not just money saved, it's money stored, because you properly store your own items. This is just like having money in the bank. Go ahead, Diver.
Just quickly, Jeep, are you still here, first of all? All right, until Jeep gets back, I'll just answer your question, Leaper. Yeah, in Australia, an average tank would probably be a couple of thousand gallons, but many people build 10 to 20,000 gallon underground concrete tanks under the structure of their home. It just makes sense. You can run all your downpipes straight into a system. But you can't build in some parts of Australia unless you have a rainwater tank. You can submit your plans and the council will say, nope, unless you have a rainwater tank attached, they won't approve it. Jeep's back now, so the question, Jeep, if you can hear me first of all, if you can just put 1 in text, make sure you are back. Just let me know that you're here. Okay, I don't see a 1, but I'll ask. Oh, okay, you can hear me. The question I had is relative to you building the property there in regards to the rainwater, which is good, and your garden's good, but have you got or sought council approval for a composting toilet system? I'm just interested to see how that's gone, or whether you've already done preliminary inquiries into being permitted to do a composting toilet on your new land.
If you can hear me, go ahead and press 1 real quick, and I'll go ahead and answer. Okay, so I have not contacted the county about that. We do have a composting toilet. That's what we'll be using. The property has already been approved for septic, but we're not going to go that route, and we're going to use composting toilet. Yeah, we'll get into the more fine details with the what it's going to be when we get to that point. But it's out in the country. It's pretty liberal about what can be done out there. Right now, we're going to be talking to the county about structure sizes, because there's some codes for that. You know, how many square feet you can build without permits and things like that. So that's going to be our first step, and then we'll go into the actual residential part of it after that. Yeah, well, there's gray water recycling, and then there's composting. So if you're going to have 2 factors there that the county's going to want to know about. One is where you're putting your gray water, which is your water out of your sinks, and the water out of your washing machine or whatever else you may have. Then the other one is what you're going to do with the waste material, your black water. Composting toilet with a composting system, and then gray water recycling, where you will actually use that water. It will be stored in a storage tank, and then be also used for your garden and things like that. The gray water. The manure, and I'm not a fan of putting it on your garden, but on your flowers and your shrubs and things like that, there's no problem with that. Yeah, go ahead, Lieberman.
He said, go ahead, Lee.
I don't know if I've jumped on someone. Just it looks like Jeep's having problems from time to time, but if we can just follow a simple format where Jeep then asks you to come to the mic or text a question, it's a lot easier because Leaper, if you just and anyone else just floods the room with text, a lot of questions are being lost. So the reason for the hand up is for them to either put it on the mic to ask a question or just put it in text. But if people just flood the text, some of the questions Jeep's missed. So that's the reason. If you can treat this part of the room show as a question and answer session, then that way it makes it very easy for other people and Jeep to understand what the questions are. So I'm sorry if I stood on someone, but that's the reason we raise our hand, to make it a little bit of a system.
Go ahead, Lipperman, go ahead.
No, no. Uh,
Okay, go ahead, Dive Crew, with your question. Great question. On my land, no. We are about a half a mile from a state lake with a state forest on one side, and then a total state forest on the other side, right in the middle, half a mile one way, or half a mile the other for the lake and forest, or the one way is just the forest for another state forest. There's no actual body of water, no creek, no pond or anything on our land. But the water table is relatively low. Like I said, the well is down 43 feet in a sand point. So I don't see any need for a pond or anything like that, because I'm going to be storing the rainwater, and then there is the well, and then also for watering will be the gray water storage recycling.
If Jeep Girl gets really bored, she'll start digging.
And Jeep Girl says if she gets really bored, she'll start digging. So there's no water on there right now.
I want to
Go ahead,
fishing
Seeds.
legally.
Yeah, this is a question for the future, and that is obviously there will be children with you in the future on your property. Have you looked at educational needs and how far you are away from certain schools or the town facilities? I have an understanding you're within Kui of a town, but in Australia you've got to be fairly smart in putting applications down for your children to apply to go to a school. I just wondered whether you looked at that for the future. Welcome to the room, Good and Sinone. Goodbye, Sinone. So, yeah, educational question, I suppose, Jeff.
Yeah, actually the school is in the little town 10 miles from us. It does have primary, grade school, secondary, and the high school. So the bus does come and it drives right in front of our place. When we're there, we actually had the kids get off right at our driveway. So this bus comes there and picks them up, and then they actually, right there at our place is where they drop them off and pick them up, and then dispense and go on up the hill to their own properties. So we do know about that. It is a unified school district, public school, much better than the public school that is here, and Jeep Girl's actually quite excited about the opportunity to have her son going to a smaller school.
Yes.
And the local district here is not necessarily a favorable school district, so we're actually kind of excited about the country school.
The other thing is the district is also open and he could possibly go to school with his cousins.
So yeah, there's the next school to the north is which, I mean, even if the districts are open, 2 of his cousins go to. So Tiny Jeep might even have that opportunity too with his cousins also. So there's a lot of more opportunities, I think, for that. Go ahead, Lieberman. This is a unified school district, which means that the school is in one area for many districts. So at this time, they're not requiring that. The busing is free. Anytime that these rural schools are going to unified, they have to provide transportation because they're getting the tax money from the other districts. So it's not just a single district like some of the cities. You have to pay for busing because you're in the district. So that's how they have to do it. It's just part of the deal of being a unified district. I think Lieberman's up again. Yeah, I know quite a bit about the California school district too, just because I lived there for 20 years. So I know a lot of their things. Some things are better in California than here, but some things are better here than California. Go ahead, Dive Crew. Well, that's the thing about Illinois. The last couple of winters have been real mild, not much over 3 or 4 inches of snow, but we also get snow that's been here and it's been 4 feet. So this winter, I imagine, probably going to be a little worse than normal. We get very mild winters, where last winter we didn't have a single day below 0 during the daytime temperature. But then I remember back about 10 or 12 years ago, we had negative 37. So Illinois in the north here, we have a wide range of weather. We actually have all 4 seasons. Here you get up into Chicago, they have 2 seasons. It's called snow and construction. But down here we actually have all 4. But you can get all extremes. We get above 110 degrees in the summer, and we get down to negative 20, negative 30 in the winters and snow. So it's a vast wide range of weather here. Go ahead, Lieberman. Go ahead, Herb.
Yeah, I know you talked about having a raised bed and maybe a greenhouse and stuff. Are you thinking about doing maybe aquaponics or hydroponics and all in there?
I'm interested in that, Herb. I don't know a lot about it. The other part of that is in this type of weather here with the system, because like I've had a large pond with koi fish in it, and that's like the basis of the hydroponics. a pond with fish, and that's when they they defecate in the water, it goes out to the plants, fertilizes the plant, the nutrients from the plant comes back and feed the fish. It's a circle. So I've had a koi pond with natural vegetation in it, about 1,200 gallon pond that I made myself. But the issue with that is because of the weather here I'm just not sure about with all that piping and with the winter there again, I'd have to have something that I can fully disassemble and put away. So right now, I don't see that as being a big priority, but I am interested in it, and I might, experiment. I might try small setup. I'm trying to say with experiment. Yeah, slap me. But it is something I am interested in, just because I have already created my own koi pond before, and Herbster says. And okay, go ahead, Lieberman. I don't know how any of you follow Wrangler Star, but his raised beds are really cool. If someone could get a hold of those apple crates like that, those would make some great raised beds. And I like how he has it laid out. Very good design. So, not saying I will copy him, but I like his design. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, you're talking about everybody hearing me? Okay. Yeah, okay, you're talking about getting like I guess a cabin to put in there. Were you gonna just set it flat on the concrete, or were you planning on like putting on some, like put blocks down on the concrete? You can anchor the blocks down on the concrete and then put the house on top of it. And what kind of were you thinking about, like fireplace or a stove, wood burning stove, something like that, or is there? I don't imagine there'll be any other than electricity, be any other utilities out there like natural gas or you do propane or something like that for heating.
Good question, Katie. Well, because the design that those cabins are, they're actually on skid, and so the people that use block is to block them up off the ground so the skids aren't on the ground, but they're actually on a block. So with the concrete pad, additional blocking won't be necessarily, because they'll actually be on that pressure-treated skid. So the skids can go right onto the concrete itself, and then you can drill right in and put anchor points into the concrete to the skid. So that won't be right, Dana bolts. And so that additional blocking wouldn't be necessary. Yes, wood heat. I've been looking at several wood stoves, trying to locate some on eBay, something like that. Ones that have the removable cooking tops type of thing, where you would also during the winter use that for partial cooking. There's no natural gas, but keeping propane down to a minimum. It may be necessary for some things, but I really would like to go just solar power for everything. And then we also talked about for the summer doing an actual outdoor kitchen, because we have such beautiful days here in Illinois that a nice outdoor kitchen with an outdoor fireplace for cooking during the spring, summer, and fall. And then anything else would be cooking inside, would be on the wood stove during that time, and then possibly just a minimal propane if needed, small tank type of thing. It's not going to be something that we'll be relying on, and not anything like that. So good question, Katie. Go ahead, Lieberman. Well, that's the pressure treated lumber. I mean, it's the same thing as if you were putting a pillar in the ground and then attaching the skid onto the pillar. It's the same process. You're getting it up off the ground, which is where the moisture holds. Concrete doesn't, it's not going to hold the moisture. It actually takes away the moisture. So, and then the wood that's actually used for the exterior is pressure treated. It takes a whole lot for it to that wood's going to be there before long after I'm gone. The problem with the riverstone in our area is there's not a lot, so it'd have to be imported, which becomes expensive. So maybe as time goes on and we start collecting it, but as the beginning, it's just going to have the proper clearances with the space behind concrete board, and might do some type of nice looking tile or something. I'm not sure. That's still far in the future. Some things are just concepts now, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. With that concrete, though, it still worries me though putting that, even though it's pressure treated lumber. 'Cause I've worked with pressure treated lumber before, and even though it's pressure treated, I would still be concerned about, because that concrete, the slab that's there is kind of flat. I'm thinking if it rains on that slab, that standing water would get on the slab and it could get up underneath, and it, pressure treated wood can still rot. I mean, it can still rot. It can still break down. I'm just, that's what I was thinking, is put some blocks, at least one block, at least just at least tall enough to where you can at least crawl up underneath to be able to slide up underneath the house. Let's say, for instance, you wanted to run some plumbing, or you wanted to, redo something later on down the road. You make a crawl space underneath there, at least the thickness of one block, and get that up off of that. Then that way, if you do have a flood, I mean, you can't ever tell. If you had if you had a flood, or if you had water standing on that concrete or whatever, then it could get up into the building, or rot the building, because concrete's porous. It can soak up moisture and breathe and stuff, like and put off moisture and stuff. I would, at least, if you do put it down, though, at least put something on like a metal strip or something like that between the wood and the concrete, because usually that's what they do in contact. Well, like when you have a pier and beam house and you have like a concrete ledge all the way around the outside of it, or concrete or brick, then they'll put a metal down over the top of that, and then put the wood, or a plastic barrier, something like that, to keep it from being in direct contact with the concrete, because the concrete is porous, and water and stuff can, exactly, damp course, it could soak up into the wood. I would suggest just at least putting a layer of cinder blocks and anchoring those down. You could drill some anchors and stuff into the concrete and anchor those down, and put some rebar or something like that with some epoxy down into the concrete, and put those cinder blocks there, fill them with concrete, and then set things down on top of that. You could leave them loose and everything until, once you get the building in place, then you set them where you want them, and then fill that with concrete, and then put the weight and everything down on the blocks. Is kind of what I was thinking. Something to at least protect the house and keep it raised up a little bit up off the concrete.
I hear what you're saying, and I know what you're talking about too. And I mean, it's in the same turn. It's just like when you building a house on a slab, you put the sill plate straight down on the concrete. You're going to put a moisture barrier or whatever underneath the sill plate, but that first layer of wood is basically right onto the concrete. When you live on a slab, they build your base of your wall, that sill plate wall, is built onto the concrete of the slab. I don't know. Most houses here don't use concrete slab houses. They have basements and things like that. But in some areas, they literally do that. They pour the concrete slab and they start building right on top of that slab. But it being that you're not using the whole surface area of the slab, that the rain can actually get into that slab and get that. I do see what you're saying, and I like the idea. Maybe I might look at some steel beams, like some I-beam type thing. That might be a good idea. I like that idea. Go ahead, Lieberman. Okay. One of the things though is, if I don't know if you're Lieberman, if you're a follower of tiny houses, we're talking anywhere from a 10 by 20 to 12 by 16. So huge area is not the issue. It's actually what can fit in the area that's provided. We're going for the tiny house theory. It's going to be a small cabin. Everything's going to be quite small in it. The stove's going to be small. The beds are going to be small. The living room's going to be small. Everything will be quite small in it. So that's the tiny house theory is what we're going after. We like that design. We like that closeness, that close knit, and so that's kind of what we're going. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up your show. It's been a great first show in about 5 or 10 minutes if we can, Jeep. Not rushing you, but we've got KD who's going to present a small show after you. Just touching on what the KD was saying, in Australia, what I would do, and this is me, what I would do is I'd put a twin wall of house bricks around the base of the size of the building I would be building. And I'd put what they call tie rods on your top plate of your walls. A tie rod would be, say, every 8 feet, so maybe 3 or 4 down one wall and 3 or 4 down the other. And they go right through to the top plate of your roof, and they're concreted in between the two bricks, firmly concreted in, and that ties your building down. But the reason why I'd build 2 course of normal high brick is to give a solid foundation, not for the whole building itself, but it also increases about 8 to 10 inches of extra room within your cabin. There is a benefit to doing so. And on top of that 2 high course of normal house brick, you would put a damp course, which is it's like a barrier which simply sits on top of the bricks, and then of course the house is attached to the tie rod. So you don't need to just tie the footings down to the slab. You need to tie the roof structure, which is your wall plate. And look, if your roof blows off, it blows off, but literally keeping your building fixed and damp coursed is a great idea. Putting it straight on the slab on skids is not a problem unless 15 or 20 years down the track there's a moisture build-up in a certain area and you'll just have wood rot. That's the only difference. But having that course, I wouldn't use cinder bricks, I'd use house bricks, and I'd certainly put tie rods go right through from the concrete floor to the roof wall plate. They're only about, because they're about 9 or 10 feet long. In Australia, I think they're about $15 each. A very sound investment for keeping your house on the ground when the big wind's coming. The other question I was going to ask before Katie brought that up was, are you considering, because I know the lay of the land where your wet area will go, and there's a slight incline going up into a hill, are you considering a in the hill type cellar or an underground cellar? And I mean this for protection from obviously things like a tornado or major storms, or even used for storage or as a root cellar, a combination of several things. That hill for me that you have is ideal to build into for something like that. Have you considered that? And I know you haven't even laid a brick or done anything yet, but is that something you have considered?
Yeah, absolutely. We've already thought about that. We've thought about even later on, if we decide to build our own rather than the prefab style house, to build a walk-in into the side of the hill would be the basement. So it would be like what they call a basement, floor level basement house, where the house would be up on top of the hill, and the basement would be lower, where it would have an entry coming out to that lower level. But yeah, that hillside is ideal for exactly that, a root cellar or whatever. Yeah, and it's definitely crossed our minds, and we've given that some thought. So definitely. Just a quick wrap up here so we can let Katie get started is for those that don't know, I've reached 100 subscribers. I'm doing a little contest. It is a snap-on pocket knife that has a pocket belt clip and or key ring, so if you want to put it on your keys, it's meant to be an everyday carry, and also a small LED flashlight. Both items are brand new in package, and I'm going to put the link to the video. I do apologize, it's just going to be for US subscribers, just so otherwise shipping to out-of-state countries would be far more than the items are actually worth if it was something large. But this is just my first start. Appreciation for the first people that have come along, and I got, reached the 100 subscriber mark, so I just wanted to do a little appreciation. There's the video. So all you got to do is subscribe, like, and comment. In a couple weeks, we'll draw the names off the comment. Just one comment per person is necessary. You only get entered in one time, and then we'll have a friend draw the names. So I just wanted to share that with you and let all of you know so you can get in on that contest. So here's the link. After KD's show, if you want to go ahead and get on that, or the next couple of days, you got plenty of time, a couple of weeks here. But I do appreciate every one of you, and if it wasn't for you guys following it, it would just be another day of me going down there and doing nothing. So thanks for letting me do a show, and I'll go ahead and wrap it up here and let Katie take over. And Seeds, if you want to close it out and introduce Katie.